Hello everyone and welcome in another episode of our Malifaux tutorial series in Stories from the Breach. Today we're going to cover some general tactical actions, two of which we already know, which are walk and charge, but today we're going to go through a bit more detailed, and we're going to talk about defensive stance, focus and interact. While the last one, interact, we're going to leave for the end of the video, as this is very important in many of the schemes which you play while having a full game of Malifaux. So without further ado, let's go to the first, which will be defensive stance. Let's talk about what is defensive stance. So like I mentioned a second ago, it's a tactical action, and some tactical actions are available only to specific models, similarly to attack actions. However, there are also general tactical actions which can be done by any model in Malifaux without being clearly, explicitly stated on the model's card. A good example of this is walk or charge, as we don't have anything saying that this model can walk or charge, but just the values given. So now we're going to talk about defensive stance. Defensive stance is quite useful if you are trying to hold certain position and hold objective, and you don't care much about dealing the damage, but what you care is survivability of your own model. So in this situation, we've got Illuminated attacking the Depleted. However, we assume that Depleted is trying to hold that position for a certain specific scenario purpose. And instead of trying to walk or deal any damage to use melee attack, the player of the Depleted is going to decide to activate him and do defensive stance action. In this case, sorry, I forgot to take my hand. Okay. In this case, the player can discard one card from the hand. We are discarding a 1. To add defensive +1 status to the oh my god, what the hell am I talking about? To give defensive condition to the Depleted. In this case, in every single defense duel, this model will have a positive flip towards it. And in this case, we've done, for the first action point, we decided to do defensive stance. However, we really want him to survive. So what are we going to do? We're going to spend another action point, and we'll discard another card to give this model defensive 2, which gives us double positive flip on any defense duel. Activation of the Depleted player ends, and now we've got Illuminated. Illuminated decides to shoot into Depleted and try and kill him. So first on, we shoot. Shooting 5 against defense 3. Shooting 5 with a 10 gives us a total of 15. And now, because we have defensive 2, we take 3 cards, taking the highest. Unfortunately, Black Joker means we always have to take Black Joker, so this would hit at deal damage. We're just going to quickly skip the damage, as we already covered it, and do another shooting action, which is total 7 plus 5 gives us total of 12 against 12 plus 3, 15. So you can see how in this case, this saved the Depleted, and he would survive further on. So this is a really good method to keeping the models alive. And just let me notice at this moment that defensive stance stays till the end of the turn. So if you do this with your first activation, that model for the whole turn is going to be really hard to kill, and either will take a lot of resources and activations to get killed, or will be simply omitted because the other player will decide to just leave him be and take care of it next turn. So that will be how defensive stance works, and let's go to the next action, which is focus. Okay, so now let's talk about a focus action. Each model can perform, spending one action point, can perform a focus action which gives him a focus condition. Then for any other action being taken, any attack action usually, or some casting action, whenever an action is declared, the condition can be taken off to give both positive flip for the attack and for the damage in case of attack action. So let's assume that the player activates Angel Eyes and for the first action point decides to focus. Then with the second action point decides to use the snapshot rifle and have a shot at Illuminated. We know that Illuminated are really hard to kill because of the armor regeneration, 7 wounds. So now let's quickly see what's gonna happen now. First of all, for this game I'm just gonna quickly do the terrifying. So we have we don't need this one. Terrifying over here, which is a 1, terrifying 10. We're just gonna cheat it with a 9 and easily pass it. Actually, do we need a 9? Willpower 6 now. We cheat it with a 6 for a total of 12. 6 plus willpower 6 gives us 12, which passes the terrifying. And now we make an attack action with the snapshot rifle into the Illuminated. What happens now? We use the focused condition to get positive flip for the attack flip and for the damage. So it's really good if you want to make the damage cheatable. And you're gonna see what's gonna happen now. So first of all, we make a normal defense. 1 plus 5 from the card gives us a total of 6. And we have a positive flip over here. 10 and 12. Of course, we take 12, which gives us a total of 18. So the difference is actually 12, which means... 12. What am I... Is it? 12 plus 16, that's gonna be 18 against 6. Yes. However, now Illuminated player decides to cheat with a joker. With a jack, which represents 11 and gives us total of 16. We've got total of 18, which normally, with difference of 2, would mean that we do have a negative flip for damage. However, in this case, because of the focus we used, it is negated by the positive flip, which we got from being focused. Which means that right now, our damage flip is straight. 7. We flip a 7, which gives us a moderate damage, which would mean we only deal 3 damage. However, Angel Eyes players decides to cheat, and she can cheat because that was a straight flip without any negative flips, therefore it is cheatable. And what she does, she decides to flip the damage with the Joker, which means we deal the severe plus weak damage, which in this case is 4 plus 2, and with one shot we deal a total of 6 damage, which would leave Illuminated with only 2 points of life left, as one of his damage is reduced by the armor. So you can see that focusing is quite useful if you have a really high card and you want to make the damage cheatable. And in some cases, for some models, like for example for Von Schild's Trapper, Freikorps Trapper, or for Katanaka Snipers, these models, while being focused, double the range of the weapon. So while normally they can shoot at 18 range, while focused they can have a range of 36 inches. So you can see how powerful that one shot can be. So focus is a really good condition, and it does the same thing in close combat, so do not be afraid and use this in melee if you want to make sure that your heavy hitter, let's say Hungering Darkness, does the job and really does the damage. So that's how focus works. And now let's go to interact, which is crucial when playing schemes. Okay, so when playing a proper full game of Malifaux with schemes and strategies, you will realize that quite few of them require you to put scheme markers or some other kind of markers. And now, that's what brings us to interact action. Interact action is simply performing certain specific task, which is more of a story driven, be it planting the evidence, hiding a bomb somewhere like a dynamite, or simply doing some kind of marks for a forbidden ritual which you are trying to perform. While for your enemy it would be trying to disarm the bomb. Let's say clearing the ancient ruins from the runes you have grown in order to stop the ritual from happening. So these are most likely story driven, but they are really important when having a full game of Malifaux with schemes and strategies. How interact action works: it usually can be taken by any model unless stated otherwise on the card, and in this case we've got depleted, and on his card the first thing you read is that the model is insignificant, which means that this model may not take interact actions. So this little guy over here, lovely mutated by the brilliance given by Jacob Lich, cannot perform any interact action, therefore he cannot plant any evidence, he cannot drop any markers. But illuminated, easily being activated, can spend one action to drop a marker. Normally they should be in the same size as the base, so they should be 30mm. However, I don't have anything good for at the moment to use, so I'm just going to use coins to represent them. So he will just drop a marker, and then with his next action he could easily walk away. One thing really important about interact action is that placing markers, we have to remember that markers cannot be within 4 inches from each other. So they cannot be in contact. The minimum distance between them has to be at least 4 inches. So imagining he drops first marker over here, walks over here, and then with his next activation he would be able to put another marker over here, but they cannot be close to each other. This is very important in strategies and schemes like line in the sand, where you have to drop these markers along the center line and you have to have at least 4 to score points. So you can see how it works. And interestingly, some other models allow, kind of force others to do them. So in this case, we have a Scion of Black Blood. So let's imagine the same scenario. Illuminated, drops a marker, moves over here, but uses both of his action points, therefore cannot perform anything else. Opponent does whatever, let's say walks off with this depleted, because he doesn't want him to be in the close combat, he wants him to run away to do something else. And now we activate Scion of Black Blood, and using his 0 action, Forbidden Ritual, it's casting 6, threshold is 14, so we need an 8 to pull it off, with range 10, and it allows a friendly model, in this case it's going to be our Illuminated, and it forces it to immediately take 1 interact action. So let's try to do it. We easily do it with 12, which means that our Illuminated, being targeted by that skill, can put another, performs another interact action, drops another scheme marker, which perhaps in this case could have won us a game. So as you can see, interact action is quite important, and it plays a crucial role when playing full games, not just quick skirmishes to kill each other. So definitely these actions are very important to remember, and make sure you understand them and you use them well, because to be honest with you, my first games of Malifaux were mostly focused on trying to kill my opponent, and that was exactly the reason why I lost every single one of my first 4 games. Only now it has gotten better because I started using schemes and doing interact actions and taking defensive stances. So think whether you actually want to kill that one, or maybe your survival is a bit more important. I guess that's it for today. So let's go quickly to a wrap up where we revise quickly what we've learned today. Okay, so let's quickly revise what we've learned today. We've covered, first of all, defensive stance, which using 1 action point and discarding 1 card allows one of our models, of course the one that was activated, to get positive flips on all defensive duels, on all duels that use defense. And I've said earlier, I've made the mistake, these do not stay only for this turn, but they stay from this activation to the next activation of this model. So if you activate your model first, in the first turn, and in the second, that's going to be the last model to activate, the defensive stance is going to work for whole 2 turns. So you can see it's really, really useful. Then we've covered focus, which was quite easy. We spend 1 action point to give positive flip to the attack and the damage flips for the next attack action or casting action, as it might be. And lastly, interact, which allows us to drop scheme markers and also destroy them. In the same thing, we can destroy enemy scheme markers, and so you can see we can either play our missions or sabotage the opponent. So it's quite important. In the next tutorial, we will cover soul stones, what are the possible uses of soul stones, and who can use soul stones, and we're going to just talk a bit more, and we'll see where will that bring us. I hope you enjoyed the video, and happy wargaming, and take care.